Hello, everyone. Hello. Yeah, so we will wait for few more minutes before we start because I see participants are joining slowly one by one. So we'll wait for another 2-3 minutes and we'll start. So let us start the class today. So good evening, everyone. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Vidya. Thank you, Jishnu. Okay, thank you. So we will start today's class. So I hope you have watched the videos of previous week. That is week 5, right? So I am going to share the screen now. So can you all open this Mentimeter and join using this code, please? I'll give you a minute's time. Please open Mentimeter and join. Okay, so can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So this week you would have seen principles of design. That is what we had learned this week. And there are so many principles of design. like balance or emphasis, movement, pattern, repetition, etc. We have seen some of these. So now we will just quickly run through what all we have seen this time. So in lecture 1, which is Principles of Design, we have seen what is repetition. So repetition is the repeated use of elements such as shapes, lines, colors, textures, fonts, or patterns. Because of using repetition, what happens? We are able to have a very unified, cohesive, consistent design, and it can also provide rhythm to the design. It reinforces hierarchy and simplifies communication. So repetition is one of the most simplest principle of design, and it creates cohesion and helps the viewer retain information visually. Then we saw what are the different types of repetition techniques. So we can have pattern repetition, which is repeating a particular shape or a motif, maybe with color variations, or we can have a slightly different shape or motif with same color variations. Then another is modular repetition, that is repeating of three-dimensional units, say like prisms or hexagons or something like that. And it is mostly used for installations. Then we have alternation as a repetition technique where we use slightly altered versions of a base unit. Then there is progressive repetition, which is gradual variation in scale or color, because of which we imply movement or hierarchy. So when we look at the visual effects that can happen because of repetition, so color, so using a similar or consistent palette or contrast can shift to draw attention. Then we can use size or scale in repetition, that is changing the size of a repeated form to establish hierarchy. Also, we can have texture or alignment, that is repeating with variation in texture or repeating with variation in alignment can make the composition very interesting because it can add depth. Then in repetition in graphic design and architecture, we saw logos and branding which use repetition for consistency and also for recall. You should be able to recall the logo. For example, IBM or Microsoft or NBC. Then repeating forms like windows, arches, or columns can create architectural rhythm. Design systems use repeated voids, shapes, or panels to define aesthetics and spatial quality. Okay. Then after that, we saw what is movement. So movement, it refers to the visual or physical navigation created by spatial arrangements or visual cues. Now, in design, movement can be achieved by use of direction lines, gradients, curves, or implied motion. Whereas in architecture, we can also use movement to understand circulation path, spatial layout, roads inside a master plan or a site plan, and also for dynamic built forms. Now, what is the purpose and impact of movement? First is it directs the viewer's attention. Second is it establishes flow and rhythm. Third is it brings dynamism and energy to static forms. We can have movement which are vertical, say like tall towers. Like if you look at Burj Khalifa, then your eye is automatically drawn or moves towards the top. Or if we look at the pyramid, Egyptian pyramid, the eye is automatically drawn on top. Then we can have rotational movement or curved stairs. That is like a helical staircase, like a DNA's profile. Or it can be very fluid. So like a dancing building. There is actually a building called Dancing Building. Okay, by Gehry. Then examples were shown where we saw artistic installations where color and scale shift rhythmically, repetitive graphics used in logos and posters, architecture with repeated modules creating spatial movement like Franco Gehry's dynamic forms. And then we concluded that repetition and movement are interconnected principles. Repetition often creates rhythm, and rhythm leads to movement. Together, they shape the visual and spatial experience of any composition. Then, what did we see? Just 1 minute. Okay. Then we saw what is pattern. Now, pattern is intentional repetition of elements like shapes or lines or colors or textures. The shape can be any shape. So what happens when you use pattern? When we use pattern, it creates a rhythm, structure, and visual harmony. Patterns are very commonly used on our floorings in the form of tiles or on carpets or on building facades, which is elevations, as decorative motifs and also in nature. For example, leaf of a particular tree. Say you look at the neem tree. Now it's a repeated pattern of leaf as well as flowers, which is very distinct from the pattern created by a maple tree leaf. See, there is variation in color, but the pattern is the same in nature. That's the example for patterns in nature. Then what are the techniques for creating pattern? So the first technique is repetition. Repeating a unit to create structure. Second is variation. Changing the size, color or shape while retaining the structure. Then symmetry. Especially radial symmetry is used to create circular motifs. Then we can have scale and proportion. Changing the scale of a repeated unit. Again, I will just to ensure that I keep the same example. If we look at a neem tree, then the leaf size is different as it grows, but the pattern remains same. Then color. So using color, it changes to generate vibrancy and contrast, whether it is the neem leaf turning from green to various shades of yellowish green to ultimately yellow, or the maple leaf turning from green to various shades between yellow and red, where color is used but the pattern remains the same. Examples of pattern uses: curved, circular or linear repetitions, Then kaleidoscopic effects. I don't know whether you people have done kaleidoscope ever. It's a very nice experience to do kaleidoscope. And it's very easy also. Mosaic art, murals, and natural textures like sand dunes, or after a sandstorm or after the wind on the sand desert, the kind of patterns that are formed, or spider webs. Or then on architectural facade, we can have repeated jalis, windows, wall elements, or any other decorative elements. So these are all the ways in which we can have repetition in architecture as well as in design. Then we saw what is unity. So what is unity? So unity ensures that all the elements in a composition appear intentional as well as harmonious. So it is done intentionally. So that is what is the message it gives. It prevents the design from feeling disjointed and brings about an aesthetic balance. We also saw what are the various techniques to create unity. So repetition is one technique where we can repeat a particular shape or size or color in a repeated manner to bind or keep a composition unified. Second is proximity. That is, we can keep elements spatially close to each other to suggest a relation. Then alignment. So aligning elements to maintain structural coherence. Then we can also have contrast, which is unified design through tonal transitions or limited variation. And then shape and monochrome, that is visual cohesion with very little diversity, because monochrome means what? It's same color. So you may have a particular composition, but then the unity is created because there isn't any dramatic shift in colors. It's all the same hue in various shades and tones is used. That is monochrome. Then we saw examples of unity. We had the graphic logos, which by using radial symmetry, that is center for peace, the logo of it. Then a single unit repeated with color variations to represent unity in diversity. For example, German independence design. And in architecture, we saw high-rise designs and vertical forests using repeated modules for visual coherence. And then we understand that pattern and unity work together to create visually balanced and purposeful designs. While pattern adds rhythm and complexity, unity can bring cohesion and clarity. And both are essential to good architectural and graphic composition. Now, when you study architecture or design, and if you want to do a particular composition, there is no one single principle alone that you can use. You will end up using the basic elements of architecture and design, which is point, line, shape, form, to which you will attach, or to on which you will use multiple principles. But probably one principle will be more dominant than the other. So you may have a primary principle and then you will have other principles which will be secondary. What I mean is, you may probably use, say, shape as a element of architecture, and then you will use repetition as a principle to create another principle called unity. So it will always be multiples or in multiple layers. Okay. Then we saw what is rhythm. So rhythm is structured repetition of elements such as shapes, lines, or textures, and it creates a sense of movement or continuity. It can help guide the viewer's eye and establish order and aesthetics in design. A rhythmic design can create order, aesthetics, and it will help us retain the memory of whatever we are seeing. Then, what are the types of rhythm? So, we can have regular rhythm, which is uniform repetition of one element. For example, identical columns. Or we can have alternating rhythm, which is two or more elements repeated in an alternating manner. Then we can have flowing rhythm, which is repetition of organic or curvilinear forms to create fluidity. You can also have progressive rhythm, where the element changes progressively anything. It can be in terms of shape or size or color. Slowly, it will start changing its shape or dimension or color. Then we can have random rhythm, which is irregular repetition without consistent intervals. So like snowfalls or pebbles on the river bed or something like that. It is rhythmic. If you look at the pebble bed, that's the first thing that will come to your mind. It's a rhythm, it's a repetition. But the size is different. And if we also saw the applications of rhythm in architecture, we saw facades, building facades, columns, fenestrations, decorative features. In graphics, we saw layout flow, branding, and sequential illustrations. While in nature, we saw waves, shadows, and animal markings. So just 1 minute, I have to erase these. Otherwise, it will come on the next slide also. Yeah. Then we saw variety. Now, variety can introduce contrast and diversity to prevent monotony in design. It can make the compositions very dynamic and engaging, as well as very stimulating. What are the techniques to achieve variety? First is shape and form, that is combining different geometric or organic forms to create a variety, a composition having variety. Next is color, that is using different hues or tonal shifts. Third is texture, that is mixing rough, smooth, shiny, matte surfaces together to create a composition, which means there's a lot of variety of texture in that particular composition. Or we can have scale and proportion, that is using large and small versions of the same element. Then rhythm, especially random or progressive rhythms can add variety. But in all this, it also has to be cohesive. Remember that. It can't be like a visual jerk. It can't be like having pizza with sambar. It has to be pizza with mushroom or capsicum. Then examples and observations in architecture, we saw Zaha Hadid's buildings, Indian temples with multicolor facades. So a riot of colors, yet it is so unified, and that variety is like mind-boggling. Then in graphic design, we saw contrasting shapes or colors used in branding. In nature, you can see forests, cityscape, or decorative arts with layered diversity. And in our daily day-to-day life, you can see furniture layouts or clothing patterns or street visuals. I don't want to name any major celebrity, but you can see some of the celebrities, what flashy, dazzling outfits they wear, which has a variety in terms of color as well as texture. Then I just wanted to bring this, the difference between rhythm and pattern. So pattern is a repetitive arrangement of identical elements. So pattern is a specific predictable sequence of those elements that is repeated, whereas rhythm includes pattern, but it adds other principles like flow, variation, movement, etc. So rhythm is the overall sense of movement or flow created by the arrangement of elements. So rhythm offers predictability, but variety ensures excitement. Both are important and crucial to make the design interesting, aesthetic, intentional, and unique. So no two outcomes are the same, making design a very expressive and personal journey, which is bound by the creator's creative boundaries. That is the only criteria. Then, what is hierarchy? So, hierarchy, it arranges elements to indicate importance, and it helps to establish focal points in a composition and ensures clarity and ease of navigation for the viewer. What are the ways of achieving hierarchy? One is by size. That is, larger elements appear more important. Then contrast and color. That is, brighter or more contrasting elements draw focus. Third is proximity. That is, closer items indicate related importance. And then position, that is central or higher placement signifies importance. Examples are newspapers, like how you have hierarchy of headings, subheadings, and body text, which follows a hierarchy showing the importance. In architecture, you can see the importance given to Garbhagriha in temples with central domes and prominent towers, which indicates spatial. In graphic design, placement, scaling, and extremely bold use are all essential to emphasize hierarchy. Then next is harmony. So what is harmony? Harmony ensures that all design elements work in cohesion, not in a fragmented manner. It maintains consistency in style, material, proportion, and visual language to make the composition feel unified as well as aesthetically pleasing. What are the techniques to achieve harmony? Consistent color palettes, proportions, and material choices. Then repetition with variation for flow and balance, and multiple principles like unity, rhythm, and balance working together. Examples of harmony in architecture are the temples and modern facades with repeated but varied elements. In graphic design, it is balanced layouts with complementary colors and aligned elements. In nature, you can see forests, coastal formations, and cityscapes which offer natural harmony. So, hierarchy helps direct attention, while harmony ensures everything feels connected. Both are essential for creating a very aesthetical composition, strong, clear, and effective design compositions. Then now I have finished explaining all this. You have to become a little active now. Now you tell me, what happened? Connection got lost. Huh? You share it, no? Share it. Yeah. So now you tell me in this, which principle of design is most strongly represented in this arrangement according to you? Whether it's the pattern or contrast or emphasis or symmetry. You have to finish answering fast. Have you finished answering? Why is it taking so long? Okay, just hold on. I will stop share this because it's taking too long. 1 minute. Okay, I am not very sure why the timer is taking so long. Nevertheless, let's see. So we see that most of you think that pattern is the most significant principle is what you feel. And three of you feel contrast is the important principle. Start by is the present. Okay. Okay. Present. Okay. So, um, see, both of you are not wrong. Uh, a pattern is created using contrast. Let's say it's like that. A pattern is created using contrast. Now here you tell me in this slide, which principle of design is most clearly demonstrated on this facade? Okay. So it looks like after everyone has voted, the answer comes. So you have to be fast in voting. So repetition, yes. 8 of you have said repetition. 1 says variety. 4 say hierarchy. Hierarchy is absolutely incorrect because all these elements are same. Contrast could have been. So it is a combination of repetition and contrast. So the pattern is repeating with a contrast of glass and concrete. Glass and concrete is a transparent and opaque material which is contrast. But there is definitely no hierarchy here. Huh. Now, for this, you tell me quickly. Which design principle is most strongly represented in this arrangement? Fast, fast. जल्दी करो. Fast, fast. Quick, one more. Only after all of you answer, the answer will appear. Okay, everyone has voted. Okay, so progressive rhythm, contrast, emphasis. Well, progressive rhythm is correct. There is progressive rhythm in terms of the profile on the edges as well as colors. So it is the colors are progressing no, from one shade to another and not in a contrasting manner. I don't know how you say contrast. There's absolutely no emphasis. There is no one element which is dominating this composition. So progressive rhythm is the correct answer. Now, which of these statements about this architectural facade is true? The facade lacks variety. Color variation introduces visual variety without breaking the rhythm. The use of rhythm in this design helps organize the facade. So which of these 3 statements about this facade is true? Okay, so most of you feel color variation introduces visual variety without breaking the rhythm. So you are absolutely right. And then the use of rhythm in this design helps organize the facade. That is also correct. That is, you are using rhythm to organize the facade. So lower floor has arches, but then the elements are repeating. So it's a rectangle with an arch. Then the first floor is a rectangle with an alternating pediment triangle and then arch. The facade lacks variety may not be absolutely true because if you see there is a lot of variety happening there. It's just that the way it is organized, it's very well organized or composed and therefore we can't say it lacks variety. It has variety in terms of shape and color in every way. So which design principle is most dominant in the architectural facade shown here? Quick, quick. Nine of you have answered. Quickly answer. Otherwise, I'm going to reveal the answers. Fast. Quick. Only one more. One person has to answer. Otherwise, I will tell you. Okay. So in this design, 10 people are saying pattern is the most dominant principle and 2 people feel variety is there. So both of you are right. There is a very clear pattern happening here. And the variety is, I wouldn't say much, but because there are only arches, so pattern would be the most appropriate statement. Then which principle of design is best reflected across all these 4 images put together? All the 4 image has one particular um, very specific principle. What is that? Well, looks like 5 people are, or 4, 13 are only participating. Well, it is progressive rhythm. It's rhythm and also progressive rhythm in a way. Where do you see contrast? There is no contrast, and hierarchy, absolutely not. Unity is there, no doubt, but that is caused by rhythm. It's a unified composition because of the rhythm. Now rank the design principles as they appear from most to least prominent in this architectural scene. So most of you find rhythm and unity seems to be together. I agree with you. Okay, some feel unity is more dominant than rhythm. Nothing wrong. Symmetry, I'm glad some of you feel symmetry is there as one of the things, because you can see that the reflection of water, that is symmetry, and emphasis is in the form of the central area where you have some lighting. So this sequence is correct. Rhythm slash unity, either one can come. After that, symmetry. After that, emphasis. That's correct. Now rank the design principles from most to least prominent in this composition. Quick, fast, it's going on changing. As I want to discuss it, you all are changing it. So quick. Okay, so rhythm you feel, is it? Okay, so most of you feel rhythm is the most dominant one. Then variety is there. Yes, there is variety in the form of concrete and glass. There is contrast between opaque and transparent surface, and the overall composition looks united. So the sequence is correct. Perfect. Absolutely okay. Right. Now, for this composition, which design principle demonstrated is most prominent here? Tadang. And the answer is okay, hierarchy. Four people feel it's hierarchy. I agree. Actually, that is how the design is supposed to be. That is the most important part, which is shown on the terrace. This is the Legislative Assembly building at Chandigarh, designed by Le Corbusier. It's a very, very important building. If you study architecture or design, you will definitely go and see this place. Well, some of you have said rhythm because I feel you are saying only the facade, and there is unity, I would say, not even rhythm. There is unity there. It's harmonious, no doubt, especially because it's exposed concrete, but there is a lot of contrast happening if you look at the forms. You have a cuboid, you have cube, you have a chamfered, cylindrical, I don't know what to call that, pyramid, and so on. And repetition, I think you're seeing only the facade. So I would ideally go with hierarchy. But it's a confusing building, done to confuse you. So rank the design principles based on the visual prominence in this graphic representing the New York skyline. Okay, so you feel hierarchy because the tallest structures dominate attention, and then variety and color are competing neck and tie. Like there are diverse shapes, heights, and colors. And then there are bright, vivid palette which distinguishes each of these buildings. Both are correct. And rhythm, repeated verticality, and spacing is not the most important criteria. Actually, there isn't much rhythm there. So the sequence is correct. So your understanding is correct. Now rank the following design principles based on their improvement from the before to the after. So what is the difference between the before and after? Rank them. Okay, so hierarchy, visual prioritization, the veil becomes more dominant. Yes, in the background. There is contrast, greater light-dark separation between elements and background. There is unity, consistency in shape, scale, and color for overall harmony. And simplicity, clutter reduction for clearer communication. You are right. So I think with this, I will stop today's quiz. And I'm open to quick questions, maybe one or two, and then we will stop the class. If there's any questions, maybe a question or two, I will ask. Otherwise, it is okay. Mm, coming week will be uh, what do you say? It's a exercise week. So attend the class. You can't guess you can't guess what shall I say? Randomly the exercises. You will have to actually watch the videos and then do the exercise properly. So I hope you are enjoying the videos. You are learning something different and new. So I hope that is happening. So all the best, and we will meet coming week with the exercise. So all of you, please submit the exercises. So bye all of you. We will meet coming class. So today is 7th. So on 14th, we will meet. Okay. So bye. Bye bye. Thank you, Kanishka. Thank you, Teja. So I will leave now. Bye bye.